Hello, everyone. It's Jeff again from the Power Mindset, continuing our series of talking to young people about the importance of mindset and in serving us being successful. Here to me is one of the most impressive young men I've ever met in my life. I'll tell you, this is William Guthrie. Say hello, William.
Hello.
He is my wife's nephew. And I'll tell you a quick little story about this gentleman that we knew he was special from a young age. When me and my wife were getting married, we selected one of my wife's nephews to be a ring bearer, and he could not handle it. He was all over the place. We called on this young gentleman at the time. How old were you? Like 3 or 4 years old? And he delivered it perfectly. And we knew he had the poise, and he kind of saved us on our wedding day. So I always had a special soft spot for this gentleman. But I'm been a big fan of his. But first, I'm going to let him kind of introduce himself, tell him the story, and tell him about his success in gymnastics.
Hello. I am 15 years old. I've been a gymnast for, I think I'm going on 10 years now. I started when I was a little baby, or I was 4 years old when I started rec, and then I joined the team when I was 5 years old. And I've sort of progressed through all the levels, and now I am in level 9 gymnast. Some of my accomplishments along the way, I have been to Western Nationals 3 times. I have about 10 medals from there, two of those being bronze medals and one being a fourth place medal in the all around. So yeah, it's definitely been I've seen a lot of my teammates who have been like better than me kind of quit. And so, kind of just keeping yourself motivated has definitely been a key part of my journey. Right now, I train 25 hours a week. I've been training 16 since I was about 7 and 12 when I was 5. So it's a lot of hours. So, mhm.
Thank you, William. So my program is about developing mindset in young people. So when you hear the word mindset, in your world, what does that mean to you?
Mindset is kind of to me like the lens that I kind of view the things that I do. So like if I have say a positive mindset, then whenever I do things, that kind of lens tells me, oh, this is good and like I'm all positive about it. But if I have like a negative mindset, I think it kind of means like whenever I do something, even if it's good, that lens will like sort of distort the thing that I did and it'll just make me think that it's bad. So kind of like the lens that I view the world with when I'm doing things.
So in your opinion, you've been around very high level competitive athletes and you've been in very competitive environments and competitive moments. How important would you see or is mindset in relationship to your gymnastics performance?
I would say, in my opinion, the mindset is probably a majority of the gymnastics. Like you really need that mindset to keep going. If you have a bad mindset and you're like, oh, I'm really bad at this sport, I can't do this, then you're gonna quit. And if you have like a good mindset or some confidence, I think you'll be able to do far. I think especially at my level, like a lot of us are like very strong and we can do most of the skills. Obviously, we can't do like like say an iron cross that requires like an immense amount of strength, but I would say we have the strength to do most of our skills. It's all just mindset. Like I would say it's like mental stuff. Like I'm scared of doing say a double back off the high bar, and so it's going to be much harder for me to get this thing done than my teammates. And so like going back to mindset, like if I have a bad mindset about everything, I'm going to be much less motivated to take opportunities when I get the chance. And I've seen it especially, I don't want to name any of my teammates because they're doing like really good, but I've started to notice a little bit like here and there, if my coach isn't like yelling at them all the time, maybe I'll do that one extra push up because like I'm very motivated because I love the sport. And so it's kind of like it sort of you can have all the talent you want, but if you have a really bad mindset, you're not going to go anywhere. You really need that good mindset that'll keep you going in the hard times.
So let's take me behind the curtain a little bit, right? In terms of when you're preparing for your big moments, or you're preparing for your big meets, how do your coach, your team, how do they prepare to develop a strong mindset for your competitions?
I would say there's a couple things we do. One, like tons and tons of practice. You can never like there's always going to be that one time that you fall on the skill that you've been doing like since you were really young, but like I probably have done a handstand thousands of times, and you just do it and you have that muscle memory. And so whenever I'm at competitions, I try and think as little as possible because then I'll get all nervous. Like kind of just trust yourself to do that muscle memory. So I'd say like tons of training. And then also we have like mock competitions, and those help us like learn what to do when we fall. So like I had this mock competition just a couple weeks ago, and I learned like I fell on an event, and so you kind of practice that in the gym where you have that environment where there's no weight on it, you're not going to get scored. So you kind of learn what to do when you fall and when something goes wrong, and like how to continue your routine. Like I remember at competitions, like I put a lot of weight on myself because I want to do good. And so whenever I fall, it's kind of like the end of the world to me. But being able to fall at like a mock competition in the gym, it helps me a lot with my like mentals. Like, oh, I fell. That's okay. There's still another routine, and I can still do okay. And then also like right before a meet, I like to kind of just chill the entire day and just kind of get into a calmer mindset, like do the things that I want to do. Just that I'm ready and just kind of in like the zone whenever I'm going to like a competition. And then right before I'm about to compete a big event or something, I just like to take a couple deep breaths and say like, you can do this. You've been training this for over a year now. You can do it. You've done it in practice, and that kind of calms me down.
You mentioned something that I kind of want you to expand a little bit about because I think it's really important for performance and in life in general. Thinking, right? You talked about when you're in performance and if you're thinking too much rather than just kind of being in the moment,
Mhm.
right? How does that process work, and what do you do to get yourself into that zone?
So like I've definitely seen it like especially in my day-to-day life. I'm a thinker. I like to think as many things as I can. I would rather have something planned out and have all that stuff in my mind instead of just kind of go with the flow. And so whenever I'm like in a big right before a big competition, like if I'm about to go to sleep, I'm not doing anything. All that's going through my head is I'm gonna fall on this skill. What do I do if I fall on that skill? And so as I get older, I kind of have to say, like, no, I'm not going to fall on this skill. Like, just kind of put those bad thoughts out of my mind because it doesn't help anybody. And like, kind of just trying to not think about everything and just trust that my body can do it. And what was the other thing you said?
Like how do you get yourself into the zone?
Oh, yeah. I like. I would say physically before like a comp or a competition, we do the warm up like that way it kind of gives me like that familiar sense like oh it's just another day in the gym. And then just to kind of get into the zone before a routine, I have like a couple of things that I do right before like in practice as well right before I do a competition. So like on rings like it's kind of funny. There's like chalk all over the block, and so I kind of like blow it off, and that kind of gets me into that state like I'm about to take a turn and to kind of focus in. And then like on pommel horse, like right before, I'll just take a deep breath and just kind of having something that I do right before I need to do something big in training, and then I'll be ready in the competition. And then the first skill is always the scariest, but after that, I kind of settle in a little bit and just let my body do everything that I need to do, and it generally goes pretty well. So.
Fascinating. I want to ask you if you can expand from your gymnastics world, because I know you're a very good student. I know you're involved in Cubs,
Boy
Boy
Scouts.
Scouts. And can you take me into how does that mindset practice help you in your other aspects of your life?
I would say like especially at school, like in gymnastics, you fall like hundreds of times on something. And so just kind of I've learned to fail and like kind of learn from that instead of just like being like, oh, I fell on the scale, like trying to really learn from that and then take it into your next turn. And so like in school, it's helped me like say in math, if I get a problem wrong, instead I like really try and understand where I went wrong. And then on the next problem, I'll try and like do that thing. And then also knowing that I can practice and practice and I will get better has helped me like for studying a test. I'll just like go over the like study guide or something like multiple times, and then I know that my brain is like trained basically to practice. So I would really like kind of the point, practice makes perfect. And then also like sort of I would say scouts. I'm like one of the more senior scouts. Like I'm sort of leading a troop. And so again, like I'm still like learning with gymnastics, it takes 25 hours a week. And so I'm not able to go to all those things for like scouts in school to get all that experience. So kind of just learning how to fail in scouts as well as like a leader, like, maybe a meeting goes wrong, what do you do? And sort of learning from that. So it's just kind of helped me learn how to fall and not just be like super embarrassed and sort of learn from it.
So it seems to me you talked a lot about some important words I keep hearing you over and over again: learn, fail, repeat, practice. And to me, that's all part of what we call a growth mindset, right? Where
Mhm.
you're looking at things in not in terms of where you are, but how you're going to get better,
Mhm.
right? And not being that you're what we call a fixed mindset, where this is who you are. But no matter if you succeed, if you fail, you're always trying to get better,
Mhm.
which I think is very important in terms of being healthy mindset.
Mhm.
When you look around your peers, your friends at school, people you see on the street, people you see on social media, what are the challenges, in your opinion, do you see of other students developing a healthy mindset in the world?
Um, I would say like definitely some more people like I've seen them beat themselves up after like a bad turn or something. So I would definitely say like don't beat yourself after a fall. And then also especially at school, like let's say people aren't good at math, instead of saying how can I get better at math, they're like, oh, I suck at math, and like that's kind of how it is. And so they don't really try, and I really think that they could have achieved their full potential if they had just believed that they could and try. And then also like I've seen this a lot in gymnastics on mental blocks. My coach always says just do something different, like fall a different way, because instead of like hopping up and taking the same turn over and over again, like and like believing, oh, it's not going to get any better, why do I even try? You kind of have to like believe that you can get up there, do something different, and kind of experiment. So like for instance, I was working a release move on high bar, and I kept landing like far away from the bar. So like the bar would be here and I'd try and catch it and my hands would just be too far away. And so like then I would try something different on each turn and kind of learn from that. So just keep on learning and believe that you can. And I think you could get basically anything you wanted to do.
So there's a lot of people in the world these days. I want to bring you to a specific topic and see what your opinion of it is. I half of my life, William, I grew up without social media, right? I wrote my first email in my second year of university, right? People nowadays in kids, that's the world they know,
Mhm.
right? They grew up with this. They understand that in 1 second, um, an embarrassing moment can spread to 10 million people
Yeah.
like that. How do you think this world influences young kids' mindset? And the second response is, what can they do to maintain a healthy mindset within the world they're living in?
So I haven't really experienced it too much. I definitely have gotten like, you take a photo and you send it to someone and then they can send it to anyone that they want. So you kind of have to be careful there. And then also definitely a lot with social media. Like there's a lot of people with the anonymity, like, you hiding behind a mask, they don't know who you are. So you just like make fun of them and like call people like body shaming. Like I've even been like body shamed. Like I'm a gymnast, but still there's like body shaming. And so like I feel like definitely the internet, it can be really good. I've learned a lot from it and it's definitely entertaining, but you have to be careful to make sure who you listen to, because like they're kind of hiding behind that anonymity and they'll just attack you. And so like I've kind of learned to kind of just like try and have a little bit of thick skin and kind of just like not listen to them, and then finding positive influences in your life. So like find people, teammates, adults, classmates, people who will like sort of accept you and not make fun of you. And I found that has really been a positive influence. And like when I'm home, I want to be resting. So like I do go onto the internet and I'm like playing games or I'm on social media or something. So like I've definitely been on there, but I try and have as many friends as I can, who will, instead of kind of making fun of me or something, they'll actually bring me up. And it's okay to have like teasing, but you kind of have to know the line. Like at gym, I have a lot of teammates who we kind of like teasing, like lighthearted teasing, like, oh, come on, you can do it. But whenever the moment matters most, I would trust most of them to kind of, stand up for me and stuff like that. So just find people who are positive influences in your life, and then don't really listen to all the haters.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look around the internet and you look around, hate sells,
Mhm.
right? Conflict, drama, exaggeration sells.
Mhm.
And so, how do you maintain understanding that environment, understanding the peer environment? How do you create a circle of trust that will enable you to have a to help reaffirm a strong mindset going forward?
Sorry, what was the question?
So, like, how do you maintain a strong circle of trust? I know for you, you have a strong family, you have
Hmm.
a strong foundation in your gymnastics community,
Hmm.
you have good friends, and I always believe
Hmm.
that quality is more important than quantity.
Yes. Hmm.
But so for other people who are struggling to find struggling to find that circle of trust,
Hmm.
what would you recommend to them for them to find that group to support them or to uplift them towards their goals?
Um, So I'm like really thinking at my middle school, like all of my friends were like I would say very like nice to me. Like none of them sort of like there was really no bullying, no nothing like that, I would say, like for the most part. And so I would say just kind of um experiment around, and I think it just comes with like practice. Like you can't really tell if someone's going to be uh when you're like start being friends with them, like you can't really know. So I would say sort of just experiment around, and then like as you go through you kind of narrow down the field. So maybe you'll start off with like a couple people who you're really good friends with, and over time as you start to experience things with them, you'll start to figure out who's like really your friends and who you're just kind of friendly with. I don't really have like a secret formula that I can give you to sort of figure out who's going to be like there to stand up for you. I would just say kind of do trial and error and figure out who's like who's gonna, stand up for you.
It's in my program. One of the things that we do is an interview for a friend. So it's kind of like if you have a job and you're trying to interview somebody, you kind of know like you need to have this skill.
Mhm.
I want you to have this personality. You need to
Mhm.
have this qualification. What is your future like? Kind of would you fit with the team? That kind
Mhm.
of thing, right? Like if you're to ask your dad, and he's hiring someone, he kind of has a clear idea of who he's looking for,
Mhm.
right? And what I always tell for kids is you kind of have to do the same thing for a friend,
Mhm.
right? Where you want, I'd rather have no friends than have friends I can't trust.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
for me, I always tell kids, what are you hiring in your circle of trust?
Mhm.
Who deserves to be in your circle of trust? Right. So first of the, for me is someone who's going in a positive direction.
Mhm.
Right. I want someone who's, if I'm a grade 7 to 12 student, I want someone who has goals. Right. I don't want someone who's just not sure what they want to be about in their life. You don't
Mhm.
have to say I want to be exactly, but you know
Yeah, yeah.
they're about something positive, right?
Mhm.
I also want someone who is trustworthy and treats people well.
Mhm.
So not just people that I know, but people when they're who how they treat the waitress, how they treat
Mhm.
the maintenance person, how do they treat people in general? I want good people around me,
Mhm.
right? I don't want someone who I think would be a bully, not even just to me, but to anyone in
Yeah.
general,
Mhm.
right? And then for me, it's I've always felt the ability to keep a secret.
Mm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Someone
Yeah.
that if I tell something in confidence with, and I think for everyone, I always recommend to have a clear idea. Who, if you were to hire someone to say position, friend, Starting date, tomorrow, ending date, depending on your trustworthiness. And I'll tell you, I've been around this earth a long time. I have 5 friends. I've been to 72 countries around the world. I've met thousands of people. I have 5, and that's all I need, right? So if I was to ask you, William, what would be your list of qualities you want in a friend? What would it be for you?
So I have a couple. So one, I want them to be like not necessarily like super smart genius, but I want them to be open to learning new things and sort of trying to get like smarter and stuff like that because I enjoy people being around people who I can either learn from or sort of are willing to like get help with things.
Like curious,
Yeah,
curious.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then also, I don't really, I have a little bit of trouble sort of, like, you'll sort of, I don't know how to put this in a good way. Like maybe, you'll say something a little bit mean behind someone's back. Like I don't like people like that because if they're saying it about someone else, then they might say it about me. So I want you to be like, you don't have to be best friends with everyone, but I want you to be friendly towards people and not sort of like friendly towards them in person, but then like absolutely trashing them like whenever they're not there. So someone who's friendly like at all times. And then also I like people who are yeah, who can like I wouldn't say keep a secret, but who I can trust and rely on. Like if I need something done, I want to be able to trust that they're going to get it done. And maybe it's not going to be perfect, but I still want them to like try and I can really rely on them. And that's kind of my criteria for friends.
My last question before we finish, and I want to thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been outstanding. A lot of people is if you have a kid, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, who's looking up to you, who's having trouble with their mindset, who's lacking a little confidence, what advice would you give them?
So I always like whenever I see someone younger than me who I think is just like trying their hardest, I always try and give them some like words of encouragement. Like if I see a younger kid who's sort of struggling on a skill, but they're like trying really hard on it, I'll be like, yeah, you can do it. That was great. And kind of give them that boost. Like once I went to this competition in Houston and there was this really like great kid. He was like 10 years old. I think he was like probably like near my skill level, 3 years younger than me, but he had a teammate who was better than him and was like doing really good. And so like his teammate hit a perfect or like not a perfect, like he hit his routine on like say floor or pommel horse, I forget which one it was. And then he fell. And then I could like tell he was kind of demotivated. So I was like, yeah, you did great. Like just kind of stay motivated even if you don't see the results like instantly. And then also I would say like just keep on working hard. I feel like especially now that I'm older and I sort of understand like what's going on, I've seen so much more results whenever I like try and really work hard. Like I'm not a very talented gymnast per se, but I like to think that I like really try my hardest at everything and put in the hours and you'll find results. So I would say just keep on going. The like it's not supposed to be easy, but if you really put your mind to it and you really like try your hardest at it, you will get better and you will see those results. They might not come instantly, but they will come in the long run if you keep on working on it.
Well, William, that was fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for your
of
time,
course.
and I'll see you later. Thanks, everybody.